Into the white. The Alaskan wilderness stretched in every direction, a vast white expanse of snow and silence. The air was sharp, the kind that burned the lungs when you breathed too deep. Jack Turner trudged through the pines with his rifle slung across his shoulder, each step crunching against frozen ground. He'd been tracking moose since dawn, following the faint indentations that meandered through the snow like a trail of ghosts. The tracks were fresh. He crouched to study them, gloved fingers brushing the snow aside. The animal couldn't be more than a few hours ahead. Jack could feel it, the quiet instinct of a man who had hunted alone for most of his life. He adjusted his pack, the weight of the rifle familiar against his back, and pressed onward. Above him, gray clouds rolled in from the north. The wind was shifting, heavy with the scent of oncoming snow. He muttered to himself, "Better make it quick." By mid-afternoon, he'd reached a steep ridge overlooking the valley. From here, he could see miles of wilderness, the dark spines of spruce, the frozen river threading through the basin below. He lifted his binoculars and scanned the landscape. There, near the tree line, a moose grazed, its heavy body moving slow against the snow. Jack smiled faintly. He unslung his rifle, eased into a crouch, and lined up his shot. Then the earth gave way beneath him. There was no time to shout. One moment he was steady, the next he was falling, sliding down the cliffside in a torrent of snow and ice, branches whipping against his arms, his rifle spinning out of reach. The world became a blur of white and sound until he hit bottom with a bone-jarring thud. Then there was only silence. He didn't know how long he lay there. When his eyes finally opened, the light was dimming. A thin layer of snow had begun to cover his legs. His ankle burned with pain. When he tried to move, it sent a lightning bolt through his body. He rolled onto his side, groaning, and saw the jagged slope above him. His rifle was gone. "Damn it," he whispered, his breath fogging the air. He pulled himself upright, leaning against a fallen log for balance. His ankle throbbed, his ribs ached. He could feel blood drying on his temple. The wind was rising again, howling through the trees. He wasn't far from the valley floor, but civilization was miles away, and a storm was coming fast. Jack limped into the trees. Snow began to fall in heavy flakes, blurring the world into shades of gray. By nightfall, visibility was almost gone. He found shelter beneath a fallen spruce where the roots had torn from the earth, leaving a small hollow beneath. With numb hands, he managed to strike a match and coax a small flame to life. The fire was weak, sputtering in the wind, but it was enough to hold the cold at bay. He sat close, hugging his knees. His mind drifted between exhaustion and pain. Every sound in the woods seemed louder, branches cracking, wind whistling, the faint creak of ice shifting in the distance. Then he heard it, a low, guttural growl. Jack froze. Slowly, he turned his head toward the darkness beyond the firelight. Two amber eyes glowed between the trees, motionless and steady. His pulse quickened. A bear. The creature stepped forward, a hulking shadow in the snow. Jack's fingers closed around a burning stick, and he swung it out, the flame flaring bright. "Get out of here!" he shouted, voice breaking. The bear grunted, taking a slow step closer. Then, with a low snarl, it turned and disappeared into the trees, swallowed by the storm. Jack waited, trembling, until the sound of its movement faded. He didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. The next day passed in a blur of cold and hunger. Jack moved slowly through the forest, his ankle dragging behind him. He melted snow for water, ate a handful of frozen berries he found beneath the brush. Every few hours he saw signs of the bear. Tracks in the snow, a distant shape moving between the trees. It was following him. By the third day, he was running on instinct. He spoke aloud to himself just to hear a voice. The bear's prints appeared each morning near where he slept. Sometimes he thought he heard it breathing out in the dark. That night, the storm broke wide open. Snow came down in sheets. Jack crouched under a stand of trees, shaking violently. He thought of home, of the little cabin by the inlet where he'd started his journey, of the wood stove and the smell of coffee. The thought of warmth was almost painful. He made it through the night by sheer will. On the fourth day, the sky cleared. Sunlight broke through the clouds, dazzling against the snow. Jack stumbled along a frozen river, each step sending a dull ache up his leg. His beard was caked with ice, his lips cracked and bleeding. Then he saw movement behind him. When he turned, the bear was there. massive, scarred, silent. It had been trailing him for days, waiting. Jack raised his crude spear, a sharpened branch he'd carved days before. He was too weak to fight, but there was no running left in him. He shouted, voice raw, "You want me? Come on!" The bear roared and charged. Jack stood his ground as the ice beneath them cracked. The bear's weight shattered the surface, and in an instant it plunged into the freezing water. It thrashed, roaring, struggling to pull itself free. Jack stumbled backward, crawling to the far shore, gasping for breath. When he looked back, the bear was gone, the water already freezing over again. He didn't feel victorious, just empty. By nightfall, he was half conscious. The cold had dulled everything, the pain, the fear, even thought itself. But as he crested a small hill, he saw something through the trees, a faint orange light. Smoke. His heart surged. He started toward it, stumbling, falling, dragging himself through the snow until the shape of a small cabin appeared ahead, a wisp of smoke curling from its chimney. He reached the door and banged weakly. "Hey!" he shouted, voice cracking. "Somebody!" The door opened. A man stood there, grizzled, lantern in hand, eyes wide in shock. "Jesus!" the man said. "You're half dead. Get in here!" He pulled Jack inside. The cabin was warm. Firelight filled the small room. The smell of wood smoke and stew thickened the air. Jack sat near the stove, wrapped in blankets, hands trembling around a mug of hot tea. "You're lucky, friend," the trapper said, kneeling beside him. "Another day out there, you wouldn't have made it." Jack nodded faintly. His lips tried to form words, but all that came was a whisper. "Wasn't sure I would." The trapper smiled. "What were you doing out there?" "Hunting," Jack said. His voice was hollow, distant. "Moose." The man chuckled. "Find one?" Jack stared into the flames. The firelight danced across his eyes, reflecting something that wasn't quite relief, more like awe or disbelief. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Found something." Outside, the wind howled across the frozen valley, but the sound no longer reached him. Inside the cabin, surrounded by warmth and silence, Jack closed his eyes. He was safe. And the wilderness, the endless, merciless white, finally let him go. Please comment and subscribe.